She created worlds like we know in our neighborhoods, which really bothered many of her contemporaries because they wanted an official Negro to be represented. Refined African American who didn't gamble and didn't engage in extramarital sex and didn't tell lies and signify.
What I had wanted to tell was the story of a man. And from what I had read and heard, Negroes were supposed to write about the race problem. I am thoroughly sick of the subject. My interest lies in what makes a man or a woman do such and such, regardless of color.
Part of the genius of Hurston is that she uses her community as a laboratory. You cannot really understand her wonderful literary production without connecting that to her ethnographic work.
Zora's next book, Mules and Men, was fueled by her anthropological research. It included stories from Joe Clark's porch in Edenville and Zora's adventures in a juke joint full of love and danger.
Mules and Men is a nonfiction book, but it's sort of stylized nonfiction where she sort of created herself as this character who's taking you on this journey through the South. And it's totally rooted in her anthropological research.
There's a passage where a guy's flirting with her, and he says, if you stay with me, what make it so cool, I wouldn't let you make me breakfast. I'd get up and make it for you, set it aside over the burner just for you, baby. What make it so cool, what make it so generous, what make it so suave, so socially ingratiating. She caught, because her ear for black speech was impeccable, she caught the yes quality wrapped in this supreme black metaphor. And she documented it in context, in the process of being flirted with. And that's what makes Zora, she will not date, because her pages are really scenarios, they're films.
Rural country folks have what she called a psychic savings bank. They could draw from these cultural tales. And she wanted to share that these folks that were otherwise seen as stupid, lazy, ignorant, that were not at all. They were very smart, hardworking, hard-loving, hard-fighting, and above all, they used this folklore as a way to really figure out social relations.
Mules and Men was praised by critics and scholars. Hurston had shed light on what many thought was a backward way of life. She had given the world a new way to look at the South.
Northern intellectuals saw a South determined solely by horror. The horrors of lynching, the horrors of economic deprivation, the horrors of Jim Crow. Hurston saw the South as home, as a place where people lived. And what she foregrounded in her ethnography and her literary work were the everyday lives of Black folk, and provides a window on to people as human beings, as she was so fond of saying, as individuals.
She loved her own roots, and she loved her people, and just the way they were. She wasn't feeling, as many of the people in the Harlem Renaissance felt, that they had to be changed and they had to be, refashioned, reshaped into something that was presentable to whoever. She felt like they were, great in all their messiness.
So she presented their humor in its rawest form. She presented their gender relations in their unconventional form. She didn't want to wash off and clean up the unwashed masses. She wanted to present them as they were.
Some of your words I love. Do you remember how you say friended with?
Yes, making verbs out of nouns. We do that a lot.
She was friended with. Oh, what's that one about putting your foot up?
Putting your foot up? When you get ready to really play the dozens with somebody, lay them out, you see.
Play the dozens?
You go to their house and you put your foot up on the step, you see. And with one hand on your hip, you tell them what you really think about them and all that folks were way back for 5 or 6 generations. Like maybe their old man was a double hump camel and their mama was a mule. Now that's putting your foot up on them. You intend to be very emphatic when you put your foot up.
What's specifying?
Oh, well, that's giving all the details. They use that sort of loosely. Sometimes a person is talking a lot, giving the details, low-rating you in front of the public, and they say, ain't she specifying, telling all about them.
Person wanted to talk about language, for example. She would talk about how people would say, I killed him dead. Then if you were really angry, you might say, I killed him cemetery dead. That there was something about the language that was inventive, that was creative. And this is at a time when the common belief is that black people could not speak English correctly. Hurston argues not only could black people speak English differently, but the way they spoke English had been so influential that it changed the way Southern white people spoke.
Every white boy, every white girl goes around saying, Now, their Anglo-Saxon ancestors said yay and nay and yes and no, but not That is African. The most dramatic Africanism in the speech of Americans.
West Africans in Senegal call la langue douce, the sweet language. The sweet language was a language dependent entirely upon tone, and even the lengthening out of a word. So if I spoke the sweet language to you in the South, instead of saying, hi there, how are you? I'd say, hey, how you doing? Well, I never heard white folks use sweet language, and I heard black people use it all the time.
This video raises questions, and I need you to be extremely honest in the comments when answering them. And just so you know, I have 3 questions. Number 1, before this video, have you ever heard the name Zora Neale Hurston? Number 2, have you ever thought about writing a book? If so, and you just don't know how to go about doing it, check the description box. You will see that I have a course on the subject. Number 3, what did you learn about this video? Share this video with anyone you deem necessary, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.